She gave me the rehearsed smile I'd seen 100 times before when excuses were required. Quick, polished, the kind that could be applied like lipstick and leave no trace. "It was just a work dinner," she said, voice breezy, as if the words themselves could iron the crease out of my suspicion. The clock said 9, her phone said in a meeting. I believed her once because love is practical, and because the world is full of harmless explanations. I believed her twice because habit is lazy, and because confronting someone you share a life with feels like brandishing a small, dangerous knife. The third time I didn't believe her at all. I should have known then that the truth, when it wants to be cruel, arrives in the most ordinary of places. The tab at the bottom of a receipt, the name on a credit card imprint, the geometry of a waiter's smile. It started with a message, a photo of her in a dress I'd never seen, navy, clinging in a way that made the light at the restaurant rename itself, and a caption that read, "Networking was productive." That single word sat like a stone in my stomach. Productive for what? For closing deals or for opening doors to other lives? I asked, light at first. She replied with a laugh emoji and the kind of vagueness that is practiced and precise. I could have let it go. Instead, I let curiosity grow into something meaner, an investigation fueled by the need for proof rather than the need for peace. I spoke to friends who knew the rhythm of faces and favors. I went to the restaurant the following night with a calm I did not feel, the kind that masks the teeth beneath the skin. The maitre d' recognized her immediately, lovely lady, very charming, and produced a copy of the reservation ledger with the discretion of someone who has seen private dramas written in ink for years. The reservation had been under a name I didn't know, at a table that caught both the view and the light, the kind of table you reserve when you want a dinner to feel like an event. The bill, the maitre d' added, had been settled with a card left by a gentleman who had dined elsewhere in the room. He tapped the imprint with a finger as if it were a fossil. When I saw the name on the imprint, first and last, it felt like someone had handed me a map to a place I had never meant to visit. I didn't know the man, but newspapers and neighborhood gossip are generous places. A quick call to an acquaintance and a one-sentence description later, I learned enough. A client with deep pockets, a habit of generosity, a smile that worked like currency. The cold metallic proof sat in my hand while my chest tunneled away from me. I did not confront her there, in the hush between courses and the clink of cutlery. I let the knowledge simmer like a sauce on low heat, until I had a plan whose shape was as measured as my hurt. Cold revenge is not about grand gestures. It's about the precise administration of consequence. I wanted her to feel the exact absence she'd given me, not to humiliate her in public, but to reorder the ledger in a way that she could not ignore. So I began with small things, returning gifts with polite notes, changing mutual subscriptions to single-user plans, reassigning the family email to an address she didn't use. I moved like winter, slow, inevitable, unflashy. People romanticize revenge as fireworks. Real revenge is a meticulous unmaking, the quiet withdrawal of comforts once taken for granted. The first domino fell on a gray Tuesday when a courier arrived with a package meant for her. A bespoke leather clutch, monogrammed, expensive. It had been ordered with her card. I signed for it with the same hand that had once scribbled love notes in the margins of her work reports and left it on the table with a note. "You can collect it from Mr. Name. He'll be around Wednesday." She opened it with a curiosity that had the faint edge of dread. Inside, I'd placed a receipt, a photocopy of the imprint from the restaurant, the name of the man, and next to it a sentence that took no rhetorical breath. "I know." Her face changed subtly when she read it. The practice mask faltered, and the color left the part of her skin that flushed when she lied. She asked questions that were not questions and gave answers that were not enough. She searched my face for an eruption, for the cinematic fury that would absolve her by spectacle. I did not oblige. When she demanded to know why I had kept quiet, I told her the truth. Because you needed to decide who you wanted to be with. I was going to let you choose. There was a cruelty to those words, but not the cruelty of malice, rather the cruelty of clarity. She attempted to negotiate, promises and apologies that hung on the end of her voice like cheap trinkets. She said she had been lonely, that the generosity had been flattering, that the dinners were harmless. She offered to cut ties, to apologize publicly if necessary, to sever the relationship like a branch she no longer needed. I listened and catalogued each phrase as if building evidence, not against her, but for the future. I wanted, absurdly, to preserve the parts of her worth keeping. But bargaining with betrayal is like trying to staple water together. All the urgency in the world cannot make the seams hold. Cold revenge moved onward. I sent polite emails to mutual contacts correcting facts. No, we were not eligible for the couple's promo. No, that picture was not representative. Each small correction a subtraction from the life she'd been living. I returned the ring she had gifted me on our second date. An ostentatious thing I had sold years later, but which still carried the geometry of a promise, and placed it in the post with a typed note. Keep this. It belongs to the man who pays your bills. It was petty, I admit, and it felt good in the exact way a cold front feels good. Purifying, necessary, leaving no room for warmth. People expected drama, catastrophic scenes, shouting public scenes. Instead, she made a different move. She left at dawn one Saturday as if going to a retreat, and did not come back for 3 days. In those hours she called, left messages, attempted to explain, to apologize with a voice that had shed some light but not enough heat. I did not answer. There is power in non-response. Sometimes silence is an answer too loud to bear. When she did return, the house felt changed in ways that had nothing to do with furniture. I had cleaned out the closet of the small lies. I had moved the photographs into boxes labeled with dates and truths. She stood in the doorway and surveyed the new geography of our lives. For a while she tried to rebuild, therapy sessions, promises, lists with checkboxes. But I had learned the anatomy of damage. Some things, once separated, do not reseal. Trust is not a currency you can deposit back into an account after it's been withdrawn repeatedly. In the end, the coldness I administered did not annihilate her. It taught both of us an economy lesson. She learned that favors bought with other people's money do not repay the cost of what they steal. I learned that revenge feels different when it isn't loud. Less like a trumpet and more like a ledger balanced with exacting care. We did not end with a stormy divorce or a melodramatic courtroom scene. Instead we sat, papers between us, signatures like small white flags, and divided what needed dividing. He continued to appear in photographs, distant, smiling, while I reclaimed the small, honest rituals that had once anchored me. A particular mug, the old radio, the way I brewed coffee at dawn.